Welcome, everyone. Today, we've got some guests. One is Major General Nerdah Bomya of the Karen National Defense Organization. That's one of the original armies of the within the KNU, a parallel organization with the famous Karen National Liberation Army. Also, we've got Kevin LaChapelle, who is from Power Mentor, activist, and longtime friend of the Karen people, who recently went on a trip to the Thai-Burma border area, delivering aid to the Karen refugees who are suffering under the recent attacks by the Burmese military mafia army. Welcome, guys. How are you? How are you today?
Very good, Brian.
Very good.
Okay. So maybe I'll start with Major General Nerdah Burma, because he outranks us anyway. So, Brother Nerdah, how's things going? Can you give us an update on the situation there?
Yeah, there are some fighting still happening in the 5th Brigade, and recently, about a month ago, before they used helicopter gunship and jet fighters to strike the populations in the 5th Brigade, and people have been displaced after that. And many people, we have estimated around 5,000 to 6,000 people already have been displaced in the country. But the fightings continue, and we have to protect our territory. So we cannot just move away from our territories. I do this to protect our people and our motherland and our country. So fighting will continue, and problems will rise up again, and then we will keep fighting for self-determination, freedom of Karen people, and freedom of Karen country, Kawthoolei.
The reports are varying that I'm seeing of how many thousands of new refugees are fleeing Burma. This is added, I just want to remind our audience that this is adding to the already 90,000 refugees just in Karen state alone that have been there since the 1980s.
5,000 to 6,000 IDPs only in the 5th Brigade area. Also other brigades such as 3rd Brigade, 2nd Brigade, and also we can see there's an increase in the internally displaced people.
And these internally displaced people are ordinary civilians. These are the traditional indigenous people who have lived on that land for thousands of years. And recently, I believe you and Kevin went to deliver some aid to some of these guys. Can you maybe explain that? And then Kevin, can you jump in and give us your story? Yeah,
and luckily we got a friend from America. Who is Kevin. We went inside the 5th Brigade, the Karen control area, and we have found many civilians. They are in great need, and so we brought some food supplies and necessary things that they need for their daily life. So we're very happy, luckily, to have Brother Kevin, and to support and to help and to share and encouraging words to the people.
Kevin, what happened? Can you tell us about your recent trip there?
Yeah, sure. One, it was really a blessing. The collaboration that I've seen General Nerdah be able to, collaborate with KTG, Karen Thai group, that's doing amazing work down there, and others that are meeting to collaborate to really stand with our people. And so that was amazing. I would say one of the things that I, noticed, as General Nerdah said, is, the people are suffering significantly for a number of reasons. One, for the corrupted, brutal Burma regime to be bombing from the air innocent, villagers, for them to, basically target them. And then Thailand, I'm a little disappointed because, every year I've gone there, I've always come to appreciate the Thai government and their, their love for the Karen people. And this year I noticed a distinct difference where they were, disallowing us to get aid into these areas, which was really disappointing because there were many NGOs that were trying to get supplies in. At one point there were 10 large truckloads, and this was a 5-minute boat ride. You could load it into a boat and just go across the river 5 minutes, and they were disallowing that. And so, we ended up having to go through great distance and time to be able to get supplies over there. That was very concerning. So the other issue, though, is the Thai government, I think, is in a unique opportunity to try to stand on the right side of this. And my hope is that they will, because history will judge them for this, because it's not even a question whether this regime is legitimate. The Burma regime is known worldwide as one of the most corrupted totalitarian regimes ever known to man, with just crazy violence. And so I hope that Thai doesn't fall into their games of aligning with them, because I think they're a better country than that.
Yeah, Thailand is one of those great nations in Asia, and they've got rich history, and they've been very, very helpful to ethnic people over the years. So we do hope and pray that the Thai government will come together. I mean, the thing is that the Burmese military is a criminal military mafia, and their time is probably ending now. I can't see. I don't know how you guys feel, but the cracks in this regime are starting to really emerge now, and I think the West has finally realized its mistakes it's made. And by the mistakes, I mean, I think the Western governments have ignored the ethnic people over the years and focused solely on this myth of Aung San Suu Kyi, this myth of the NLD coming to the rescue. It's been a great mistake, particularly by the Obama administration. And it's now come to a head where, the military, all the ethnic armed resistance forces are seeming to challenge the regime at many different levels, including the Chins. We've recently seen attacks in Chin State. So that the Chins standing up and taking on the Burmese military, and they're doing it with flintlock, percussion type rifles. So I'd like to get you guys to comment on that, particularly General Nerdah. You're seeing this new dynamic here. How do you view the ethnic resistance, and perhaps comments on unity?
The ethnic groups are fighting against the military regime for so long. Now they are more cooperative and work together more than before. And they're also coordinating with the CDM people who recently just arrived to the border areas. So I think communication's better than before, and also cooperation better than before. I think we can also see more productive activities in the future.
Anything to add, Kevin? Or any of your experiences that happened recently as well?
I've had a lot of communications with leaders from CRPH, and their desire and understanding that they really can't do this without our ethnic people, because the security forces for the ethnic people really are the only ones that can stand up against this Burma regime. And so what I'm seeing, this phenomenon of them coming together, the challenge is everybody has to be careful of what will happen after the Burma regime falls. Because for me, I believe that Burma can never handle a centralized government. I believe that every ethnic people should have their own state with full autonomy, their own constitution, and they can have a cooperative or an MOU, memorandum of understanding, that they all support one another to defend each other. But my concern is if they do try to start a new national army in Burma, the Burma regime, they have multi-layers of generations. And so when these generals are gone, there will be others to take their place. And so I think it's very critical, and for the interests of even the Burmans, to understand that centralized government has been the downfall of Burma, of having that totalitarian power that even Aung San Suu Kyi, even if she did attempt to do it, was never able to really do anything. So I think this facade of a quote democratic elections and all that have all been a facade. And I think that, the Burmese generals were just waiting for the right timing, and then for them being propped up by China and Russia. But what I noticed with, like, when I talk to CRPH people, these are young people and they're done with it. They're not going to give up. And I could tell in their voice, their determination. And I've never really seen that from them. We've only seen that from our ethnic people that never give up. But these people are also tired of it now, because now they're the victims of their own regime.
Just to comment on this disconnect between the Burmans, the ethnic Burmans, and the ethnic people. And a reminder that when I speak to people, sometimes they think that the ethnic people are some scattered hill tribes up in the mountains. No, I would really need to reiterate that the ethnic people are 60 to 70% of the entire population.
Right. That's right.
This is something which probably a lot of the geopolitical analysts are missing here. The ethnic people are the majorities. It's not ethnic minorities by any means.
That's
if
right.
we look at we go around the whole country of Burma, we have Arakan, we have the Chin, we have the Kachin, we have
Naga,
the Shan, the Nagas, Lahu, the Karenis, the Karens, the Mons. I hope I didn't leave anybody out there. The Wa. There's many different groups here. And these guys collectively make up 60 to 70% of the population. Right. Forget this nonsense about these being ethnic minorities. And they also occupy the land. So the Burman dominance military want to control those ethnic lands. And this is where the regimes, well, we can blame Russia and sort of point the finger at Russia and China, but the West, a lot of these European governments as well have been allowing the Burmese military to continue, especially since the Obama administration, the dropping of sanctions and so forth. So some of the blame has to go to the West. Now is the time to change their course and give the ethnic people self-determination.
I think that's so well said. And you also look at the tactics of this corrupt mafia regime, and their whole tactics are built on deception. That's what their foundation is, deception. And so their ability to divide people against one another, to have leaders that they prop up, that they're paying off within the ethnic people. They're turning the Burmans against ethnic people. All of those things, I think, are starting to shatter. The people that I talked to from CRPH, they now actually, in my opinion, are sensing a dependence that they know they can't do it without the ethnic people security forces. The other thing is, these governments fell for these mafia tactics, because, just like how Burma's going after Thailand, they're courting them, and they're using money, and by them mining and stealing the land from all our ethnic people, and having Aung San Suu Kyi go around the world collecting money, and all that money was used to further their regime and gain more power. But I think those things are crumbling. And personally, I'm very optimistic that there's going to be major change. We just have to be ready for it. And it's critical now more than ever that all the ethnic people are united now more than ever. There can't be any division. Any division is all a tool of the corrupt Burma regime. And, there'll be a time to talk about what the future may be. But right now, everyone must stand together to take out this corrupt mafia that has destroyed this entire region.
Brother Nerdah, tell us about the Karen people. What's the mood of them, and particularly the strength of what you guys are doing, the concerned group, General Bojaw, head, and maybe give us some enlightenment on that.
The Karen people are actually more than 10 million people in Burma. They are not a minority. We've been fighting with the Burmese government, but not with the people, not with the Burmese people. We don't hate the Burmese people. We can cooperate and work together with the Burmese people. The things that we fight against is the regime, military dictatorship. They're so corrupt and brutal to the people. That's why we have to get rid of them. And we also have a concern group. They're concerning about the current struggle and the current issue about the policy of the KNU to walk on the road and to achieve not to walk out of the road, but to walk on the road according to the regulations and the constitution that we have that the KNU has for the people. And this is the most important things that the concerned group is doing. And it is more like a safeguard for the current constitutions and the KNU policy, and also the achievements of the revolution. And it is important to be strong, and also to be determined for what we want to achieve, not to cooperating and colluding with the regime. They're so bad, so cruel to the people. And we need international community and the people all over the world, including Thailand, not to cooperate with the devil and with the regime, with totally corrupt and like power struggle just to crush the people for their own benefit. So this is very important for Thailand to know about it, and also especially the U.S. government to take strong actions on the regime, to stop killing people, to stop genocide, and to stop permanentization against the ethnic groups. But this is something very important, a message to the American government to know about this, and also to pressure the Thai government not to support the devil, the regime, and to just to work with the people to get rid of the regime as soon as possible.
I think it's a matter of time now that the regime collapses. Now, in regards to the Karen people in 5th Brigade, you guys have both personally witnessed refugees, IDPs, wounded people who have fled. Can you elaborate on tell us about some of those experiences or the personal stories?
The Karen people, they have their mission to accomplish freedom for the Karen people, so that the heart of the Karen people is burning for freedom. Doesn't matter what kind of hardship they're facing, but they will never retreat and give up. They will continue fighting for their freedom. They will stand up for the righteousness, and then they will never run away from the problems. They will face the problems, and they will be so proud to be a Karen, and they will be so proud to defend their motherland. We have found some difficulties when like wounded people and people who women and children who want to cross the border for their safety. We've got some problems with the Thais in the past, and hopefully the relationship will get better, and also international pressure is needed on the Thai government so that they can do the right thing for the needy people, for the refugees to cross over and to find safety. For the Karen soldiers, the Karen patriots, they will never give up. Doesn't matter what kind of hardship, they will keep on moving forward, because nothing is more important than freedom for them. And
recently, the Australia Karen organization made some very strong calls for the resignation of the current KNU leader. So I encourage all Karens around the world to stand tall, speak out, and unite with your other ethnic brothers and sisters around the world, the other organizations, whether it be we need the Arakan, the Chin, the Kachin, the Karenni, the Mon. We need the Shan, everybody to come together. So please keep that message going. Everyone do their bit.
I think one of the stories that was amazing to me is when we were in the middle of the night trying to get supplies into 5th Brigade. And when I met our team leader, And then they shared with me that there is a pregnant lady. This needs medical attention big time, that I believe she was 7 months pregnant. And when I see, stuff like that, here's Karen preparing for the future generations of Karen while they're being bombed, and they don't flinch. I'm just so amazed how strong our Karen people are. When the team made their way over to meet us to be able to get supplies, they were smiling. They were like, Karen strong. We stand together. Freedom, self-determination. I mean, it was just, it made me a little emotional, because I was anticipating seeing people feeling defeated, even though I know our Karen are strong, but what's going on over there. And yet they were so strong. It was such an encouragement to me to see that. And the other thing is how steadfast, how strong they are, and how much they pray for General Nerdah Bomya and General Bajahe, as they see those two always defending our people. And that's just meaningful to them. I talked to many soldiers, and the same thing, their loyalty to the Karen culture, the simple life, the way of life. My message would be, if you try to contrast this corrupt, brutal Burma regime versus the amazing Karen people in villages, when you go into villages and everyone's laughing, raising their families, farming, all those amazing things that you see, it's a night and day difference. And I always will stand on the side of our Karen people because their way of life is incredible. They're the most amazing people I've ever met. The Karen in the United States are standing strong. There's people all across the United States holding rallies at their different state levels. I've had a few meetings with staffers from DC on talking about different things that can try to help in the situation. But I think the Karen people, the largest, and they're the role models for everybody in that region, in my opinion.
Yeah, talking about the recognition of some Kenyan leaders. For example, if you're a leader and you're lying to the people that you would do this and that for the people, and instead of that, in reality, you're colluding with your enemies, that is, they're committing a high treason.
Soba OG talked about the 4 principles, and one of them was seek your own political destiny. Now, this needs to resonate through all Karen people in the world. Your own political destiny means the Karen destiny, means ethnic destiny. It doesn't mean collaborating with the regime and following along and targeting, creating divide and rule and killing your own people, or working with, as you said, the devil.
When you're working with your enemies, that's the worst thing you can do. When for example, if you call yourself revolutionary and you're colluding and helping your enemies, that's the worst thing you can do, I think.
Yeah, it's a complete betrayal.
Yeah. Betrayal and high treason.
I've had a lot of people, like in 5th Brigade, even now, I'm communicating with a lot of them, very concerned about BGF going into the area, and it's just disappointment when you see people going to meet, in Rangoon with these Burmese generals, and there's always money involved and all of this stuff. I think just disappointed, but on the other hand, they always follow up that disappointment with, but we will get freedom and self-determination. Karen are determined, and they tell me God stands with us, which I believe that. And they believe that people that are doing all the betraying and everything will meet their own fate. They will reap what they sow. And I think they're grateful for, the groups like Free Burma Rangers, Dave Eubanks getting supplies into 5th Brigade, Karen Thai group. I see them focusing more on what's going right than focusing on the people that are betraying, their people. And they're so grateful when they see General Nerdah and his team pulling in with supplies. I mean, it was very moving for me, seeing General Nerdah and his soldiers carrying huge amounts of food and supplies from Karen Thai group, seeing the Karen Thai group and their whole operation I'm standing at one of their offices where they have supplies coming in, people are just pulling up that love Karen, Thai people, Karen people, American people. Here, this is for our Karen people. And they're working tirelessly to get these supplies to where they need it. So, I mean, I see them focusing more on that of being grateful and saying, wow, look at how much we can do, even in the midst of having this regime, you know, bombing us and everything, that we're going to make it because we're strong. And I think the Karen are strong. And I always put my money on the Karen. They are going to be the ones to stand the strongest. And I do believe, as you say, the Burma regime is going to fall. And, you know, it's a matter of us continuing to encourage our people and standing with them. I encourage Karen people all around the world. You know, if you have families, you know, help them, send them money so they can buy supplies to help their other family members. Just getting resources to people is a game changer if you're there in that situation. But I never heard a Karen person complain. Not one time did I hear someone complain about anything. They actually had smiles and were loving each other, you know?
Yeah, they got a resilience. And the Karen have been fighting for well over 70 years. But, you know, we look in this modern period, we talk about this period in the 40s. So it's really one of the longest wars in history. The Karen National Union were legendary. Battles raged throughout the 80s, the 90s. They're even within the last, with 2021. If you see the footage of the 5th Brigade commandos, and I think some KNDO guys were there as well, storming the Burmese bases at Timuta. This is a few weeks ago in 2021, the classic jungle fighters capturing the Burmese. And we see this happening everywhere. Now the Chins are doing it.
Yes.
In Chin State, recently, as we speak now, the Burmese are launching an offensive around Hakka, one of their larger cities there. Chins are using percussion rifles, you know, hunting rifles, and taking Burmese soldiers out left and right. The Arakan army have changed the game dramatically over the years. I salute all those ethnic groups that stand for that are fighting for freedom. The Kachin have been fighting since 2011, and when you think about that, the Western governments are pushing peace deals. They're dropping sanctions against the military while the Burmese military are launching an offensive against an entire people, the Kachins up in the north. It was despicable. It was a criminal act of betrayal. And this is why the international community now needs to devote some resources, time, and credit to the ethnic people. If you want to solve the crisis in Burma, you need to include the ethnic people, not just listen to the generals and the marriage of Min Aung Hlaing and Aung San Suu Kyi, who are now got a divorce. So, you know, we talk about a coup in Burma, but in many ways, it wasn't really a coup. The Burmese generals are still in power. It was kind of a divorce.
I want to just add, when you talked about them taking over the bases, after they took over the base right near the Salween, the one that was firing upon boats, taking resources in, you know, literally just common people taking resources to villagers that are suffering, and the Burmese was firing rounds at them. And, you know, I just applaud KNLA and KNDO for having the courage. And, you know, these soldiers that I talked to said, we wanted to defend those people trying to help us. And that's what, you know, what their mindset is. We're not going to allow this corrupt mafia regime to be shooting on innocent people that are just trying to help people that are suffering. And I think that speaks volumes about the character and the integrity of our Karen soldiers. It's just absolutely amazing. And, you know, a few of them, those that perished, I knew a couple of those guys very well. It was very hard, you know, to see that. But the fact is they knew they were making a sacrifice to advance freedom and to protect their people and those that were trying to get them supplies. And I think that's the greatest sacrifice, like in the Bible says, to lay down your life for your friend. Had they not done that offensive, we probably wouldn't have been able to get our supplies down there. I don't know what you think, General Nerdah, but I believe that they're paving the way.
You probably have met some of
Yeah, if
probably
they
had
wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't have been able to get supplies. And we got supplies in because they cleared the path.
that to all the Korean community right now. Before we never heard about Chin are fighting. Right now, the Chin started fighting again. So the Burmese regime, they have more and more enemies every day. So don't be discouraged. Keep moving forward. Be united, and see to the problems. We will achieve. We will prevail for sure. So I want to encourage all my fellow Korean people to stay united, be focused on what we want to achieve: freedom, self-determination, and democracy. God is with us. We can win. The Burmese regime will collapse in the end.
So I hope we can continue this conversation. Let's keep doing these, guys, and keep the information out there. It's important. We got to stand for freedom. And even though we're locked down, we have to stand up, and at least we can use our voice.
None of us are giving up. Neither should anyone else. We all stand together. Like General Nerdah says, we will get freedom. We're not ever going to give up. And so I think that's something we all have to realize. We all have each other to get through all this.
Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, and let's talk soon. Go forward, never surrender, and God bless.
God is with us. We can win. The Burmese regime will collapse.